Welcome, welcome, welcome. So you are with me, Kiran, on a Multifamily Deals and Dollars podcast, and I have special guest with me, Sonny from Niagara Falls, Ontario, and I'm really excited to share very unique and exciting strategy in in real estate. Welcome, Sonny.
Thanks, Kiran. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Thank you. And so, a lot of people don't know what storage, self-storage is. And so, along with being a self-storage investor, multifamily investor, and you are also full-time firefighter, you save lives, right? And so, tell us a little bit who is Sunny?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, thank you for the introduction. So, I am a full-time firefighter in Ontario, in Niagara Falls. So, the cool thing about that is the city pays me money to rush into a burning building, which is kind of cool. And with Niagara Falls, we have various different challenges as the falls itself.
Hmm.
That comes with the fast water, the high cliffs beside it, which we call the Niagara Gorge. So we're trained in rope rescue, water rescue as well in Niagara Falls.
Okay.
Um, being a firefighter has always been a dream of mine.
Hmm.
Um, my dad and grandfather were both volunteers, and I was interested because you can do something different every day, work with your hands, be active, have a good bunch of um, guys and girls around you that are equally active and driven, and it's just a good group of people to be around. So I do that full time, and because I just honestly can't sit still. I'm an active guy. My first house is kind of how I got into real estate
Hmm.
12 years ago.
Okay, nice, nice. So you bought this first house, and did you guys do BRRRR or was it like buy and hold?
Yeah, so we actually um, bought it through a bank foreclosure in 2013, and I went to school in Ottawa. Um, I took a degree because I didn't really know what I was going to do. My degree is in psychology because I always knew that I wanted to work with people. And
Nice.
then I did the 1 year firefighting program in Ottawa as well. So I moved back home with my parents at 25, and I had tons of student debt. Um, living at home, I was still trying to get onto the fire department, and this house around the corner from my parents came up for sale. And this property had 32 boats.
Wow.
The average boat size was 21 feet.
Mm.
Um, they were all just sitting in the field. It was a 2 acre property. There was uh, 3 tractor trailers, 4 hot tubs. There was a breed of pit bulls chained up to the front fence, and that's the first house I bought.
Nice.
So it
It
took
must
a
been
year.
like a really big lot too, right?
Yeah, it was 2 acres
Nice.
in Niagara Falls, um, which I couldn't afford at the time, but because it was a bank foreclosure, I got it for a really good price.
Hmm.
And it took me a year and a half of fixing it up. So I was working for a company that did fire alarm inspections, and
Nice.
every paycheck I earned, I put into that house.
Oh my God.
And after a year, I was able to refinance. So I was able to get a mortgage on the place because initially I couldn't get a mortgage on the place. I was able to pay off my student debt,
Nice.
buy my first new vehicle. It was a 2015 Volkswagen Jetta,
Mhm.
um, and basically have a house to myself at that age. But I was still, you know, still needed help in terms of paying for the mortgage. So I got a couple roommates, and doing that for a couple of years allowed me to buy my first rental house.
Nice. How old were
And
you, Sunny?
I was I would have been 25, 26 at the time.
Nice. That's very
Yeah,
young.
yeah.
Nice.
So fast forward to today, that house is up for sale, and we just had an accepted offer last night, all cash, closed at the end of the month. So it's a big full circle moment for me, selling that house, because that house allowed us to get into real estate. The reason why we're selling that house is because we want to focus on self-storage. Just that house alone, I've got tons of stories in terms of, bad tenants, stuff breaking down on the coldest day and the hottest day of the year, multiple turnovers that cost anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000. Tenants don't care much about the house as you do, and things slowly wear down, break down, and something just clicked one day that allowed me to focus on self-storage, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Okay, nice. That's great. And then you're investing in Ontario, and so what? You're a multifamily investor. You guys in Campbell Bay and in Quebec. So how was your experience? Like a lot of investors, they only think about doing bursts and either buy and hold, or and what made you get into self storage?
Yeah, so we started off doing one house at a time, and the again, the equity that I earned in the first couple of years, my first home I bought, it was basically like a home by the lake in Fort Erie, and that property, I had dreamed of making it an Airbnb, but because it was so tight with the neighbors, it didn't work. I ended up renting that out for a few years, and then same kind of thing. I took the equity from that. I bought another place, so we did a flip in Fort Erie. So we did a couple flips along the way, and basically what happened was I went to the bank, and the bank said, you can't have any more properties in your name.
You're maxed out.
And I said, why not? That guy's doing multiple flips. That guy's doing multiple flips. So my debt service ratio was at my max. And in my portfolio, I had 3 properties plus my personal house that were all rentals. This was 2019. And what was happening, the price quickly got away for us for doing flips and burrs. A lot of big money from Toronto was coming down to buy Niagara real estate because it was pretty popular around that time, even before COVID. And we didn't buy anything for a couple of years. Once COVID hit, I found Wealth Genius, and Wealth Genius helped me get into multifamily.
Nice.
And then through Wealth Genius, my strategy changed, because I was doing everything myself. I was doing all the renovations myself. I was doing the management myself, doing the repairs, finances, all that kind of stuff, all by myself, and it was a lot. But now with the multifamily model, our most recent deal was a funeral home purchase, which I purchased 3 years ago, partnering up with other partners from Wealth Genius, Mark and Valerie Smith, who are in Ottawa, and working together, we changed this funeral home into a 5-unit apartment building.
Wow, that's that's a very, very, like very creative strategy, right? So, how was that process? Yeah.
So Quebec is a different beast. I'll say that. So there's a lot of benefits to Quebec, but there's a lot of challenges. One, their primary language is French, so I have to navigate that as not being able to speak French. Luckily, my partner, Mark and Valerie, they both speak French, but I still use Google Translate. I use virtual assistants to help me, translate some stuff if it's a PDF or document. But long story short, with our construction background, we were able to renovate and got the entire building, renovate it to brand new, put a new roof on it. We peaked it because it was a flat roof previously, and now we have in that unit 5 tenants paying $1,400 a month.
Nice.
So we're in the process of refinance. It's it hit our evaluation of what we need it for, and actually so we're looking to just stabilize that over the next couple of years, and still looking for multifamily, but my personal goal is to refocus back on self-storage.
Nice.
Reason being, when you turn over a unit, you don't have to fix the drywall or redo the floors, or the trim's all banged up because they had a dog or cat or kids.
Yes.
In self-storage, it's really just a concrete and steel box, and even if they fill it full of garbage, you can just clean it out in a couple hours and have it rented within the next day.
Yes.
Where the light bulb went off for me for focusing on self-storage, I was renovating my first house after some tenants destroyed it. It was July 1st. It was super hot that weekend. I was all by myself. My friends are out having a good time, Canada Day celebration, and I was, drenched in sweat, sanding, drywalling, painting, trim, new floor over a month or two. And it was that day on July 1st where I figured I was renting a self-storage unit at the time that I was paying $200 a month for, just because I had some extra tools and stuff in Niagara Falls.
Yes.
I was paying $200 a month for a 10-foot by 10-foot unit. So they're getting $2 a square foot off me.
Yes.
For basically doing nothing. Whereas I was renovating that 1,800 square foot home and renting it for $2,500 a month. That's $1.38 a square foot. So, to have someone at $1.38 a square foot, to have it heated, weatherproof, you have a family living and breathing in there, have to have everything perfect, not one leaky tap or nothing. It has to be a living family home, where in self-storage, they're renting it to me for $2 a square foot per month, and they're doing nothing.
Yes.
It's much easier to manage that tenant.
Right, and with the Ontario laws too, right? With the tenant laws, if somebody's not paying rent, and like same in BC, it's somebody not paying rent, but you can't tell the bank just because my tenant is not paying rent, now we can't pay. We still have to keep on, making the mortgage payments, and that doesn't happen, on self-storage.
Exactly, and tenants pick and choose when and how they're going to pay in Ontario, and there's not a whole lot you can do other than keep record, and if it goes to court one day, then it goes to court. But there's not a whole lot you can do. With self-storage, you're in charge. If they don't pay, you can put another lock on their door, basically leaving a note or an email saying once you pay, you can get that lock removed. Otherwise, next month we'll be putting this to auction. It takes a couple months for that to do that, but long story short, if you've seen the show Storage Wars, that's how it happens. Whether people don't pay, or someone becomes deceased and no one can get a hold of them, or they're the only person that own that facility. But long story short, you're in charge of that unit, and you have full rights to kick them out if they don't pay. And I'm happy if they take their stuff out, because we don't want it. It's not anything of value to us. And the cool thing about self-storage is they're motivated to pay, because if they put all grandma's stuff into that self-storage, that's all sentimental to them. That's all memories, whether it's a cedar chest or a dresser or a box of photos. They're not going to want to let it go to auction because it's all the personal stuff.
Yes, yeah.
And it's all like not that it's all memorable stuff, but it's just big bulky stuff, mattresses, patio furniture.
Hmm.
It's funny. There was a random stat I heard on a self-storage podcast. 1/3 of all Canadian self-storage units are full of hockey equipment.
Yes,
Which
we are.
yeah,
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
someone living in an apartment or a smaller
there's not
home,
enough storage. Yeah.
a couple of big bulky bags for the entire
Mhm.
family, whether it's seasonal or not. That's kind of what is found in those units, which is kind of funny for us.
Right. And then here, I'm in BC, and I see, you know, public storage, self storage, like so many, self storage, and it makes sense because single family houses are expensive, and most of the people they live in, 2 bedroom, 1 bedroom units, and then space is very small, like 950 for two
Right?
bedroom, and then couple and a kid, it gets tight because over time you accumulate stuff, right? So it makes sense that keeping the stuff which you don't use in a self storage and take out when you need it, right? And then and you can, rather than buying a very big house just to live and just because you
Yeah,
got more stuff, right? Why uh, like for it makes sense, as the investment wise, like for people, and it works out. Yeah.
yeah. Think of the average person, what they buy. Like we are all consumers.
Yes.
Think of Boxing Day. You're looking at all this stuff. You're like, where do I put it?
Hmm.
And whether it gets put in the back of a closet or you have a storage unit that eventually goes to, um, we just buy so much stuff that we don't need. Like just walked by. I just came home and I put my jacket in the closet and I see a pasta maker, a pasta dryer where you hang the homemade pasta on the pasta dryer, a pineapple core,
Hmm.
like just a popcorn maker. That's stuff that we don't use and we don't need,
Yes.
and that's the kind of stuff that'll end up in storage for the average person.
Right. And then when also seniors they downsize, right? They have they have their stuff, or like a bigger family, they downsize. They are now moving to a bigger city where they don't have, or close to another family member where they don't have so much storage. They can, it makes sense to hire store. And like for as the investment, right? And what things investors usually need to look? What advice would you give to somebody who wants to, invest other than multifamily, other than doing bursts? How can they do into self storage? Because there's a long term leases, right? There's less turnover and no tenant laws, and like you mentioned, we, those expenses wear and tear is less compared to residential side, because there's like stuff, right, like that doesn't get, there's no wear tear from that stuff sitting there.
Yeah, so great question. What can investors look for? So self storage, um, it's based off residential customers. It
Hmm.
can be commercial customers as well, but it's based off a population per square foot, and it's um, like the bigger the city, the less competition, um, kind of better access to the self storage facility, the better your investment will become. So um, things to watch for. The big one is population.
Hmm.
So a lot of self-storage investors will not go below a population of 7,000 people within a five. I'm investing in the state, so I'm going to use a bit of American terminology. So like a 3 kilometer or 5 mile radius,
Hmm.
and that's important because those people are directly going to be your consumers.
Yes.
Um, and it's good to know who your consumers are in terms of if it's military, if it's colleges, if there's a huge apartment right beside your facility. Those are all people that you can directly market to. But the average person is gonna store something. So the self-storage facilities across the United States and Canada are 90% occupied. So you can kind of rely on that to help when you start looking. One of the biggest things is when you're looking, you might find deals that look like they're a good price, but they're probably in the middle of nowhere. And the reason why I started looking in the States, nothing against Canada, it just comes down to pure numbers. Let's say I were to drive from Niagara Falls, Ontario to Ottawa. There's certain bigger cities, pockets, that range from, like, I'm in Niagara, so it's Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, Welland, Port Colborne, Lincoln, West Lincoln. So all those cities are only about 300,000. Hamilton, I think, is 700,000. Then Toronto is 5 million or whatever that is. Then there's nothing between Toronto to Ottawa. There's just little cities that are 50 or 60,000. Well, if you look at it this way, in terms of professional sports teams, we have one baseball team, whereas the States has 30 baseball teams.
Wow.
That means they have 30 more million plus population cities that can support a baseball team. We have one basketball team. Same kind of thing. There's 30 other big cities that can support a franchise. Even with our hockey teams, I think we have 8 hockey teams, which is great. That's a lot of professional sports teams. But the States still has the other 22 professional hockey teams that also have bigger populations that support the growth of that. So since the States is 10 times bigger, it's just much easier to look at some of those mid-sized markets, which are big-sized market for us. If you were to put Buffalo inside the Canadian market, it's going to be the 4th largest city in Canada. Wow. And Buffalo is 10 minutes from me. I could drive over right now. I could go for dinner if I wanted to, but I don't realize it being that big. They have an NFL team. They've got a hockey team. They've got a lot of industry. They're a true blue collar town where it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, whether or not the income level, the average person is going to need self-storage. So getting back to that question, market is very important. So I'll look at market first before I look at any other numbers, because if the market doesn't work, the numbers aren't going to work.
Yes, yeah, I agree. And then for as an investor, right, like somebody getting into for their first deal in self-storage, what tip would you give, like, whether to partner up, or can they do alone, or can they do without coaching, or can somebody just watch YouTube and they can do it?
Yeah, so there are a lot of other groups and resources. If you have a basic inclination of real estate and you have a couple properties, let's say you're part of Wealth Genius that both you and I are a part of, the best advice I could give someone is to find a market that you like, whether it's in the United States or Canada. Just start picking up the phone and building relations with these self-storage owners. And then once you find a deal, you start to figure out the numbers, all that kind of stuff. It's very similar how we would analyze a single-family home or a multifamily home. There are some tips and pointers I can give for that as well, but it's a real estate asset plus an active business. So you will need someone that has some experience running the facilities, or else it's just a steeper learning curve. I've been learning and breathing self-storage for 3 years now.
Nice.
And we have a step-by-step process where, like I said, we start off with market analysis. We run our initial analysis with our numbers. As we're talking to the sellers, we will give them three different offers, basically saying, hey, this is what we're thinking for our offer, and then we'll give a bank finance scenario and then 2 seller finance scenarios. And as we talk to them about that, that's a great way to, whether steer them towards seller financing or get the purchase price down because they're asking too much for the property. So in terms of tips, the toughest part of getting into self-storage is finding self-storage. And I see people give up too early from making those phone calls. A friend of mine, her name's Bree, she's in the self-storage space. She's been in self-storage the same amount of time that I've been in. I believe she has 3 properties in like southern United States, and she just did a wholesale deal. She did a 6-figure wholesale deal just because she was getting on the phone every day.
Wow.
And the cool thing about that is the wholesale fee, 5% of a $3 million deal, compared to a residential home, is very significant for a wholesale deal, and buyers will pay that.
Yes.
So getting on the phone is a big must. And the interesting thing about calling in the States, it's a lot easier to get owners' information. You can buy lists, you can buy leads, you can buy them skip traced. So that way, when you're calling, you're directly talking to that person.
Nice.
And there's a lot of different ways you can have an online calling subscription to be able to call United States with the United States number. Because if you're calling with a Canadian number to the United States, the likelihood of them picking up is very, very low. These are all things that I've done over the time, figured out, and now it's getting a lot easier, and we have some momentum. We have some other facilities in our deal pipeline because of the persistence of cold calling with our team.
Nice. And it also compresses time, right? Like working with somebody who has done who has experienced it, and who has gone through the steps, what works and what does not work, right? And so it makes a huge difference. If I'm looking in self storage, I'm going to call you, Sonny, who has, rather than me looking into and going through the education and going through that mistakes again. Why not rather collaborate and invest together?
Definitely, and like what I tell people, we saved a lot of people a lot of time in terms of looking at bad deals and spending too much time on small markets. We especially as investors, like everyone has certain strengths, and on our team we have some people who are good at negotiating, some people that are good at analyzing, some people are good at cold calling, building social media, all those things. And if someone finds a deal and they need help, yeah, give me a call. I'll be able to either help walk you through it, kind of quick glance, tell you what to watch for that deal, or if it is a good deal, yeah, we'll figure out how to work together to either get you a finder's fee or come together on the deal, if you're willing to work and learn self-storage as well.
Nice. That's great. So how can investors reach you, Sonny?
Yeah, so you can check me out on social media. It's Kraken, Kraken Property Group. So that's on Instagram is the best way to reach me. or my personal email, sunny@krakenpropertygroup.com. Um, send me a message. Say I'd like to learn more about self storage. I have some good free resources. I have a full half an hour YouTube video explaining the benefits of self storage and kind of going a bit more in detail of why I'm switching to self storage. For me, I know there's going to be a few, you're going to have a few more tenants, but they're easy tenants. They just more or less pay for a concrete and steel box every month, and they don't bug you like residential tenants do. So I really like dealing with the self-storage tenants much more for all the reasons I mentioned previously.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so that's how you can reach out to me. I'd be happy to help. Again, I don't have a coaching program. I don't have anything. I've just been putting my head down, working with 2 or 3 motivated individuals to cold call, analyze deals through our analysis tool. And if it works out to be a deal, we can all raise capital together, figure it out. If not, we're closer to that next deal.
Perfect. And then one last thing, what one quote that you live by? Everyone, I follow Bob and Jim Rohn and Robert Kiyosaki. So what one quote that hit you hard?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, I've had a very busy winter with a few different things going on, and myself and Jen, we have this thing, it just simply never give up. And we foster for a senior dog organization, and long story short, people abandon their dogs because they're getting older, they're getting slower, they need vet bills, they need a bit more attention, and people just give up. Exactly. Mm. So with the senior dog organization, we have fostered 12 dogs over this 3-year period.
Wow.
On people that have given up on their senior dogs. We've adopted 2 of them, and day 1 of the dog that we've had for 4 years, they said she has cancer, she's going to die any day. We go for walks daily. She's happy, she's healthy. So just that alone, we're not giving up on senior dogs. We're not giving up in real estate. We're not giving up on any emergency situation that we run into at work. Yeah, so the best way to say it is never give up.
Never give up.
Keep pushing.
Never give up. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming, Sunny. It's really amazing to, every single time we talk, and always more to share and learn. And so reach out to Sunny if you're looking into self-storage, very unique and strategy, less overhead expenses. And then, it's it's a business and with real estate.